This video is sponsored by Knuckles0x, Crimson Manifesto, and Jelpy. Goku is instantly excited, as he can sense two major things. Number one being that this alien was the strongest he'd encountered so far, easily boasting a key signature big enough to back his claims of being a super elite, and he actually ends up coming off as a tiny bit cool to Goku for it. However, unable to wait much longer for the sake of pleasantries, he quickly sheds his capsule jacket and begins warming up excitedly, asking the newcomer more about what he's talking about, since his ki doesn't feel evil at all. Here, Jaco insists that he really needs to take Goku in immediately, trying to give the same spiel that Raditz would had the timeline not diverged all this much within 4 years from this point. But instead, no one is really shocked, and Goku, while thankful someone wants to protect the Earth, insists that he's staying both because Earth is his home, and because he has a growing family and friends to worry about here. But Jaco is unwilling to take this at face value, somewhat reading this as a better reason to get Goku off the planet as soon as possible, and so ends up pressing the issue, until inevitably, as the Saiyan had won, Jaco ends up engaging Goku in battle, and using his untraditional fighting style and alien tech, along with his greater base strength, Jaco pretty much trumps Goku, though the Saiyan is valiantly trying to match him, adapting all the while. At one point, even using a gadget of his own made by Bulma and tricks to retrieve both the power pole and the flying Nimbus in an attempt to even the odds. And so thanks to his Saiyan biology, as well as the fact that Bulma and the others, even Piccolo, are watching this battle, Goku begins to adapt even quicker and wanting to remain strong and impressive to everyone. This in fact being a bit of Bulma's own pride and enjoyment of attention rubbing off on him. However, Jaco isn't a martial artist, on top of already knowing he is stronger than this Saiyan, and therefore he doesn't need to play fair or spare his feelings, in the end not surrendering to Goku at all, and capturing him in her net. But he is more than happy to electrify when the Saiyan is too noisy or tries to escape. Seeing that things have now gotten a bit real, the Dragon Team decide to step in, with even the pregnant Bulma storming over to the alien cop to give him a piece of her mind, while Jaco doing his best warns them all to remain calm and not to interfere in official patrol business, all the while looking to Titan no more for help in smoothing this over. Thankfully, no one's too jumpy, since this warning and showing of power successfully get the humans to hesitate, as they just saw the gap between them and Goku, and now know the gap between them and this being is even wider. However, there is one willing to try, as from the ground beneath Jaco's feet burst green-clawed hands, tripping up the super elite as Piccolo launches a sneak attack, only to then blast the bug-eyed ET with a full power mouth beat, packed with all the power he had once he jumps to avoid this first attack. Not so interested in saving Goku, as he is driving away this powerful invader. Yeah, that's it. He's just keeping his planet safe for eventual conquest. However, with a flourish, Jaco clears the smoke away still no worse for wear, charging up his blaster and declaring he'll have to take this Namekian in as well, though the use of this alien term seems to stun Piccolo without the need of the gun. Before any more fighting can take place, Titan no more finally have their voices heard, adding their own testimony to Son Goku's good nature, and as these are dear friends who had helped him out once who are vouching for the Saiyan, Jaco finally relents, attempting to play off this blatant act of overuse of force by releasing and then chastising the Saiyan and his Namekian friend to stay on the straight and narrow, lest he have to return and complete a resting, and then with a few awkward goodbyes, he begins making the leave in the ship. However, recovering slowly as Krillin and Yamcha help him to escape the net, Goku asks the alien to wait up, wanting to learn how he's gotten so strong, and this being an out to escape his embarrassment at jumping the gun, Jaco takes the opportunity to sing the praises of the Galactic Patrol, citing the territories Frieza has not been able to snag up so far, and the bits of the galaxy which have remained free as being due to their work, a testimony to the organization's elite and exclusive status. Goku and Bulma had of course heard of Frieza over their honeymoon, but they mostly thought of the name like some kind of natural disaster they were meant to be avoiding, rather than a person or a military force. Though having seen Goku's skill and apparent willingness to do good, Jaco sees fit to actually explain the full scope of the real estate tycoon's grip and terror on the universe, whilst also extending an offer for Goku to join up with the Galactic Patrol for a chance to keep them off his back and improve the reputation of the Saiyans, especially if he really is as good a guy as everyone says he is, since they could use all the help from strong people they could get with their top agents busy so often, but he's gonna keep that part to himself. However, Goku quickly turns this down, not having the desire or free time to devote to such a seemingly important task, at least not with Bulma as she currently is, though maybe once their kid is born and she's back to settled. He however would like to see Jaco return for another spar sometime, and the super elite does consider this, deciding they could call it a kind of evaluation, just to make sure Goku kept his word, and that the planet was safe and watched by suitable protectors, kinda like he'd be deputizing them to keep an eye on this neck of the woods for him on the DL. Now Goku is all for this, especially if it means training partners even stronger than Jaco maybe, and so as the patrolman casually leaves, as if he hadn't just pretty much changed the entire understanding most of the partygoers had of the universe, Goku, Bulma, and the rest of the Dragon Team look into the great expanse of space, wondering what other marvels the future will hold other than Baby Bra. And thus in the preceding days counting down to the event, Goku, still excited and chomping at the bit, begins to consider some new ways to train to surpass this power he's just gotten trounced by, primarily thinking of things like manipulating gravity further, getting a training partner somewhere near his level, or even attempting to use Kami's time chamber thing again. Though when he speaks with Bulma about these ideas, she's mostly curious about making another stronger gravity machine, though before any real plans or tinkering on this project can begin, her water breaks, and so Bra's birth takes place. It's a nice occasion, with Goku not really knowing what to do, but thankfully having his in-laws and others to rely on, so the process goes smoothly enough, and he and Bulma finally get to meet their daughter. And now that he's back home and Bulma and Bra are both okay, Goku begins training again in earnest, while Piccolo gets interested, feeling both this fervor and the new little life force that's always around Goku. Though when coming to investigate, he finally ends up being forced to accept Goku's invitation to train, both because the Saiyan is persistent and because he's wanting to get a head start on catching up to him, so they can make sure that Jocko guy doesn't know what hit him next time. This is the way the first few months of Bra's life go, as their Saiyan genes start to see her develop quickly, and thus needing more supervision despite what Goku and Bulma initially hoped for, thus making Piccolo's presence all the more indispensable. And thankfully, Bulma is happy to accept suggestions of their myriad of powerful martial artist friends when it comes to their needs for a babysitter, as they can be both bodyguards and insurance that Capsule Corporation isn't destroyed by their kid while they aren't looking. And as it was the thing that brought them together, the two have no intentions of putting their traveling completely on hiatus, nor that of enjoying their time as a couple when not doing so as a family unit, with the likes of Krillin and Piccolo quickly making themselves out of their go-tos for the task of babysitting surprisingly. This is partially because Piccolo seems interested in Bra's latent potential, something Goku has also sensed, and honestly is also eager to investigate himself, at least someday when the girl's ready. And when questioned why he'd want to wait at all by Piccolo, Goku explains to the newly revealed Namekian that he and Bulma already had a conversation about this, and she apparently took self-defense classes herself when she was around 9 or 10, so he's thinking around then they can get to training Bra, while waving off Piccolo's scowl at the weight, trying to get him to cheer up while saying that this isn't too bad, as he himself really only began training and adventuring seriously when he was 12. However, upset by this casualness, Piccolo introduces a conundrum for the Saiyan, as he suggests there's little chance Goku will actually have the patience to wait for a whole decade, let alone the luxury, as sooner or later, he is taking this planet over. Though Goku once again seems to not really respect this boast, but does consider that this could very well be true, especially with that Frieza guy out there in the universe. Though he's a bit nervous, Bulma would still be adverse to the idea, even knowing all they do now. At which point, Piccolo scoffs her opinion shouldn't matter, since she isn't even a fighter. Over here, Goku asserts that's not really fair, since they are talking about her daughter too. Besides, Bulma is a certified badass when it comes to her brains, and it's not impossible by any means for her to make some kind of gadget to kill even someone as strong as him without lifting a finger, so Piccolo had better not count her out. Thus, the Green Man readjusts his outlook, not exactly doubting the Saiyan's claims by any means, at least not after all he's seen Goku be able to do. Sure, he's called the world's strongest man, but the demon could swear he remembers some kind of saying that behind every great man is an even greater woman after all. So when the conversation is long over, Goku can't help but dwell on it, even into dinner, as the family are currently seated around the table, enjoying a massive spread, more prepared to satisfy Goku than anyone else, even though they are celebrating Bra already showing enough independence and the teeth needed to eat all her own. Attempting to use the manners he's been taught in his short time as an honorary briefs, Goku respectfully interrupts the meal, making his case, and asking everyone how they would feel if he began to train Bra a lot sooner. Here, we see where Bulma and Goku's chemistry, as well as her understanding that as a non-human, human standards don't exactly apply one-to-one to how he thinks and feels about things. And she can also remember well that even as a kid, Goku was strong and mature enough to keep them safe on a dangerous mystical adventure, and then a short 3 years later, he was defeating Demon Kings. So the idea that Saiyan children just kinda grow fast with Bra right in front of her to act as greater evidence of that makes sense to her, and caused her to have a very measured and reasonable reaction all things considered. But she still didn't want her kid to get hurt or anything. And in the end, Hybrid Saiyan was still uncharted territory, so they couldn't just make assumptions from his childhood, and still needed to be cautious. In light of this, she decides they can split the difference, since at this pace, a bit of light training and exercise would likely be necessary for the little troublemaker, once she's safe for or so. And since Goku and Bulma still live mostly within civilization, and thus still need to maintain basic social skills, as well as their privacy, since Goku is, after all, a former world martial arts champion, on top of being a country bumpkin, it's decided that they will go ahead and let Bra take part in school with other kids. This beginning with sending her to a short daycare program to start off with, and make sure she begins socializing with people outside their circle early. And they also end up making a dedicated schedule to ensure either of them are available to pick her up anytime. A few times, there are hectic situations where it's necessary for Dr. Mrs. Briefs, or on the very rare occasion, Tights or Piccolo to pick the young lady up from her schooling. This means that from the start, Bra has other people to bounce off of and evaluate her personality and social standing against. And what's more, she is certainly her mother and father's child, having notable traits of both Goku's strength and charisma, while showing a great deal of Bulma's wits and pridefulness. Since after all, she is the daughter of the world's strongest and world's smartest, so she actually does show interest in both the sciences and in martial arts, at least superficially, because it's a very easy way to earn praise without putting in a lot of effort, or honestly, to earn whatever she wants after all. Though this almost immediately brings to prominence two major questions for the young hybrid. Number one, can she ever truly surpass either of her parents while trying to do both things at once? And number two, is such a path truly what she is meant for? As beyond all this, she also knows that to reach the pinnacles her mom and dad have, she would actually have to try and put in effort, and she's honestly not too interested and keen on it. She certainly has time to figure all this out for now, but it's not always going to be on her side. And if you're thinking these are very heavy thoughts for a toddler, remember Saiyans already mature fast in the grand scheme of things, and Bulma was already a prodigy flying planes as a zygote pretty much or something, so their kid being scarily keen and self-aware wouldn't be too off-center. Plus, I could see Toriyama briefly enjoying turning the manga into a look who's talking style gag strip for a few slice of life chapters at least. Meanwhile, seeing as funds are very much not an issue that forced Goku to need to work or depend on an in-law for such a thing, Bulma and Goku really have very few inhibitions for trying for another kid not too shortly after Bra turns 3 or so. And beyond that, they are still a pretty passionate and eager couple, and with the stresses of crafting a new gravity machine, training up and hitting a plateau, and raising a precocious kid like Bra who puts the two of them to shame when they were her age, it's not long before they have more than enough incentives. Though now with Bra up and around, this introduces the issue of finding the window for such activities in between their schedules. Though considering the joke we've already set up for Bra, I can see the solution for this being one Goku suggests, with Bulma in the end a bit surprised she didn't think of that, but more than happy to cook up a white lie to push the real conversation off until much later. And only a few months after that conversation, the dynamic duo wind up conceiving a second child, this one they would eventually come to find out early is a boy, and so Goku excitedly decides and is allowed to name him Gohan. Aside from this, Goku and Bra, much like we would see take place with Vegeta and many other timelines, begin to form a strong bond, since I think this version would still be a daddy's girl, and Goku would still be a fun and strong dad, with this manifesting as thankfully being very gentle and careful in her training, more so the way Grandpa Gohan taught him when he was super young, than even as relatively strenuous as Master Roshi's training had been, meaning Bra won't be making any massive leaps in strength just yet, but she will be honing her body and learning the basics at a very steady pace, and with their training being something new and exciting, Piccolo and Krillin have taken to visiting Goku for training and even the odd hangout session a lot more often, sometimes even butting in to get their opinions on this training, with Piccolo insisting Goku discipline the brat more, while Krillin very much shares Bulma and Goku's sensibilities, usually advocating she be allowed to take it easy, with this being partially a result of his being over the moon at the title Uncle Krillin, but it does mean he's pretty staunchly against them throwing her into the deep end of the craziness they usually deal with. So while this introduces a sort of tug-of-war over Bra's training, it also results in her in a way having 3 masters to begin laying down her foundations. And what's more, it makes this trio as a group more likely to get in some training themselves, since there's little chance Piccolo or Krillin wouldn't also be fired up sensing the power Jocko boasted. And so this becomes the way of things, with Goku for the moment having plenty of things to take his mind off his slowing gains, since he's spending a bit more time training up others than focusing on himself right now. But even so, he's enjoying it, even though he has thought about giving the time chamber another shot for real, since Bulma is still pretty meticulously putting the finishing touches on the gravity room, wanting to make sure it's as safe as possible just in case Bra or little Gohan when he's born make their way in there. The pregnancy itself not being the wisest move in hindsight, since it did hamper production by putting it all on Dr. Brief's shoulders. However, as 5 years finally pass in this timeline, we see the mirroring start of Z, as Bulma is preparing with Goku, Bra, and Piccolo of all people to go to a reunion party with all their friends who attended their welcome back party / baby shower at Kame House this time. And with Goku and Piccolo appearing very excited, since this is also the day Jocko's scheduled to come by for his evaluation. Bra's a bit intrigued, since it's a chance to get out of the house with her mom, dad, and Uncle Piccolo, with even the guarantee to see Uncle Krillin as well. But all the same, she can imagine sitting around with a bunch of old people talking about old times she was never there for may be a little boring, and so she's pretty keen to also take a few toys and gadgets, even a cassette player in her headphones. That way she can enjoy her own choice of tunes on the way there. And thanks to traveling with Bulma, who is currently with a child once again, they all go by plane, and so arrive around the same time that Bulma did in canon as a group, finding Master Roshi, Yamcha, Krillin, and Chi-Chi on the island by the time they do, all of whom are currently discussing the whereabouts of Launch, who'd gone off to find Tenshinhan and Chaozu a while ago. There is of course some catching up and introductions as Roshi, Yamcha, and Chi-Chi formally meet Bra, with Chi-Chi instantly becoming smitten with the little girl, like Krillin had, as she looks just like Bulma when they were younger, but also has that tiny, cute, and seemingly innocent factor like Kid Goku had. Plus, she calls her Aunt Chi-Chi, which is just too much sweetness to handle. Everyone, including Piccolo, ends up actually having a good time, with Krillin proud of his gains over the last years, bragging that he thinks he's caught up pretty well to the alien warriors, questioning if they'd fancy a short warm-up spar while they wait on Jocko to arrive and test them. However, before they can, it feels as if for a moment the space patroller has arrived already. But no, that's not his key, even if it feels nearly equal in scope, because this key is absolutely dripping with evil and malice, and though she herself can't sense Ki very well, Bra can tell when the mood has vastly changed, seeing her remove her headphones again, and ask what's wrong, as the fighters around her tense up, feeling something drawing in on their position. But this is where we'll be leaving this story off for right now. that'll be it for part 3. I know I'm really dragging my feet on this one, and I do apologize for that, and I'm gonna do my best to try and make it more frequent. That said though, I may make a lot more of my scripts like this one, which are gonna be shorter and less wordy, just so it's a lot easier to do those. As usual, just to cover my bases, shoutouts to Val Mr. Negative as well as any other artists who might have had renders featured in this part for help with visuals, though I got a strong hunch this vid will heavily feature BT3 or BT4 gameplay B-roll, so their artwork might not have been featured all that much in this video exactly. Aside from that, before I get out of your hair, one more shout out to the special supporters of the day: Toxtricity Rapper, John, Baba Snake, Cure Skywalker, Dragon Fist 24, and Normie 1998. That's all I got for you this time, so take care of yourselves and the world around you, and as always, go beyond plus ultra. And I'll see you guys next time.